Hello and welcome to the SoundStage Audiophile Podcast. In this second season of the show, host Jorden Guth is joined by a new guest each episode who knows something about hi-fi that Jorden doesn't. And who knows, while he's learning about all of this, you might learn something too. So with no further ado, here's Jorden and this week's guest.
Hello and welcome to the SoundStage Audiophile Podcast. Today we have Edgar Kramer, Editor-in-Chief of SoundStage Australia, and Doug Schneider, founder of SoundStage, joining us to talk about the Product of the Year Awards that we just recently published on the SoundStage Network sites. Welcome, guys.
Hello, Jorden.
Hello, good to be here.
Hello. So thank you, Edgar, for joining us from down under. I know that it's quite early for you in the morning.
It's great to be here. No, it's okay. I'm an early riser, so, well, not really, but...
You'll make the exception for today.
I am for today, exactly.
There you go. And we actually have Doug joining us as well.
Yes, I'm on vacation, but as usual, working on vacation. So it's
you
all
don't
good.
really get a vacation.
Exactly. I'm okay.
Where are you?
Punta Cana.
Oh, nice.
Dominican.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dominican
Republic.
There you go. Yeah.
Rollton Resort with one bar internet, but it's working.
Oh, there we go.
Why aren't you sitting on the beach?
Well, I just came to a quiet room. Otherwise, we'd be here on the beach.
I mean, that might be a nice ambience for today's discussion. Just saying.
Yes.
So today we've gathered everyone around to kind of talk about the Product of the Year Awards. Maybe not necessarily go detail into each one or anything like that, but more of the idea behind the Product of the Year Awards, what makes them special, what makes them different. For anyone that wants to kind of look at the individual products that have won and kind of get all the details on those, we're going to have links in the show notes, but the SoundStage Hi-Fi site as well as SoundStage Australia will have those individual lists.
Mm-hmm. That's an important distinction, that they're published on two different places because they're kind of two different sets of awards.
Well, actually, that's a great place to start, because the question, or one of the questions that I had that kind of has been itching in my brain, SoundStage Australia is autonomous.
Correct. Edgar
has his own site, his own everything, including Products of the Year. So maybe even just before we get into the Products of the Year, why does SoundStage Australia have its own kind of ecosystem?
I'll start with that. I'll start because Edgar will have something to say, but Edgar approached us several years ago to start the SoundStage Australia site. And it was apparent that Australia itself has its own audio ecosystem. It's so far removed from everything. It made sense to have someone not only running it down under, but also it is its own vibe, its own thing. Go ahead, Edgar, explain that.
Yeah, Australia is an ecosystem in itself. I have been writing, prior to starting SoundStage Australia, I had been writing for print magazines and for another website publication, an American-based one, for some time. And obviously throughout that time, I developed a network in this country. And it made sense to drive Australia independently and support local distributors and local manufacturers with an Australia taste, an Australian angle to hi-fi. And I think that's how it started.
Well, and one of the things I've noticed, so I was going through the Product of the Year Awards, and some of them are like similar companies or companies that I've heard before, and others are like totally new. I've never heard of these companies before. Do you deal with a lot more like Australian-based companies, or is it a different, like a market? Like, is there completely different vendors? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, Australia is quite unusual because it's a vast, geographically, it's a vast country, but there's only 26 million people. But it's a relatively small to medium-sized market in terms of hi-fi, but there is an incredible amount of brands and products available. Purely because, we have connections with America, we have connections with Europe in terms of distributors who bring lots and lots of products. There's some large distributors, there are small distributors, there are local manufacturers. So I like to kind of cover all of that as far as product review. And being mindful not to double up in terms of reviews with what Doug and the guys at SoundStage are doing.
But it's okay if you do. It's okay because it's your own take on it over there if it does.
Of course. Up. Sure. But in terms of providing value for supporters of SoundStage Australia, they sort of say, well, this has been reviewed in America. Let's do something different. So we kind of tend to not double up too much. And we obviously want to provide a stage or a platform for local manufacturers to showcase their product on a global, on a global scale.
Now, when it comes to, I guess, the categories of products of the year, and I want to talk a little bit about like how categories get defined and all of that. But just while we're still on the topic of Australia, do the categories of the product of the year change between Australia and the rest of the SoundStage network? Or are the categories and kind of the awards the same, just may go to different places or different companies?
Sure, if I can start with that. To be honest, I didn't want to do a from $0 to $5,000, for $5,000 to $10,000 type categories. I wanted to do something a little different. And what I actually really liked was the way that Doug was doing his categories on SoundStage. Yeah. So I adopted that. So I think the categories are very similar, right, Doug?
Yeah, we have the exceptional value and outstanding performance and aesthetics and sound, but then you have a couple others that we don't.
Sure. Evolutionary design achievement, which is something that I wanted to give credit to products who have had a very long lifespan throughout audio history.
And that's kind of what we call our Hall of Fame award, in a way.
Okay, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And there are products that have had multiple generational development, so I wanted to showcase that. And it is very same to your Hall of Fame award, correct?
And that one this year went to the Wilson Sasha V, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, because that's really an evolution of the What Puppy and its multiple generations, and I've actually owned Sasha, the first Sasha, which is a fantastic speaker, and this is obviously a refinement. Two or three generations after that initial Sasha product.
Yeah, we were just at Wilson Audio a month or so ago and got to see them in person. And Doug, you might correct me here. I might be wrong, but I believe Sasha was the name of one of their dogs.
I don't know that.
German Shepherd,
yeah, the German Shepherd. Yeah,
you must have been having that conversation. I don't recall that.
We stopped by the house and had a demo, and there was one German Shepherd in a photo, and that
was Sasha.
Yeah, I believe that was Sasha.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Random aside for today,
and I'll tell you, I learned not something there, but before, because it's the Sasha. Many would say 5 because it's a Roman numeral V, right? But it's actually V for V material.
Material.
One of the So I think that's a little confusing, even when we're having Dominic Fields and me read out the products of the year, because we have a video for that, and it's worth mentioning. It's on YouTube, and it was like, is it V or 5? Oh yeah, it's V. And then
we had to say it both ways just to make sure we covered ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some of the other, like you mentioned the Hall of Fame. But then there's also the outstanding performance as well as like exceptional value.
Are you aiming that at Edgar or me or both?
Both, probably.
I think both would be interesting because you guys came to different conclusions, similar characteristics, but like maybe actually I'll say, let's start with exceptional value. What are you looking for specifically in that exceptional value? Okay. Edgar, you said you didn't want that tight range of price, but price obviously has to come into it in some point.
Of course, yeah. What does a product offer at its price point? Does it offer something that's cookie cutter, or does it offer some point of difference? Does it offer exceptional materials? Is it beautifully designed? Are the components high quality? And is the price, affordable? Does it reflect a sense of value? So that's what exceptional value is. And this year I had two products. One was the Delicord FR6 loudspeaker, which is locally made in Queensland. And the company, and it's quite a difficult thing to do these days, but the company goes to considerable effort to produce everything in Australia. So cabinets, obviously not the drivers, but cabinets, binding posts, internal cable, as much as possible components within the crossover network. And it looks like a two-way speaker, but you turn it around and there's an oval driver covering just about the entire rear baffle, and that's been done before. But within the cabinet itself, it has another driver. So there's a lot of value in terms of componentry in there. It's beautifully finished. It's a real wood veneer. So that, to me, represents it an outstanding value at the $5,000 Australian price point. And the other product was the Yamaha NS2000A, which is beautifully done. It sounds terrific, finished in with the same sort of quality as Yamaha's pianos, using proprietary drivers. And in Australia, it's a very, very good value as well.
And how does that compare, Doug, to the ones that came up on the SoundStage Network sites?
Yeah, so on the SoundStage Network sites, which encompass reviews done on SoundStage Hi-Fi, SoundStage Access, SoundStage Ultra, SoundStage Simplify, and SoundStage Solo. Those are our product review sites.
Wow.
What happens is when we do a review on one of those sites, we have what's called the Reviewer's Choice Award. And it's a kind of notch up for the product if it performs above and beyond. And the criteria used to select Reviewer's Choice: outstanding value, or exceptional value, I should say, or outstanding performance, which mirrors the awards. An exceptional value means performs well for a price, above and beyond for a price. An outstanding performance means it performs exceptionally regardless of price. Yeah. And so everything that is in our exceptional value awards got a Reviewer's Choice Award, but not every Reviewer's Choice winner was an exceptional value winner. We selected those. So we wound up and we look at who runs those sites, like Dennis Berger runs the Access site, Gordon Brockhouse runs the Simplify site, Jeff Morrison and formerly Brent Butterworth run the Solo site, and then we actually ask other writers to. So we came up with, Gordon was adamant that the PSB Alpha IQ active loudspeaker system get the exceptional value award. He kind of has it on par with the KEF wireless, the LS50 wireless, in terms of just a quality product. And then the NAD C3050 LE integrated amplifier, another exceptional value. The LE limited edition's gone, but it's now the 3050. And Dennis actually owns one now, loved it. So that's how those came.
So the question I have there is, it's almost equivalent to one per site, but the one thing that I'm not seeing in there is actually a set of headphones.
No. And so we don't just give awards to give awards. And that's in the Hi-Fi article. If something wasn't considered exceptional value in the year and didn't get the Reviewer's Choice nod, and we look through all Jeffrey Morrison's and previous to that Brent Butterworth's reviews, there were no headphones or earphones that were considered exceptional value for an award. So we just leave that out. We want the awards to be legit, meaning not an award for the sake of an award.
Yeah, you're not filling a category or filling a quota of this amount of turntables, this amount of XYZ.
Has to really earn it. It has to have a Reviewer's Choice Award, and then it has to be worthy. And those were. So they're really a select choice of awards.
So maybe I'll take it actually back a step. When I think of year-end product awards or year-end stuff, especially from some of the more big name publications, a lot of them, the public perception in my mind is that they're just there to appease the brands. They don't actually hold any weight. They may just be like a roll the dice and whoever comes out on top comes out on top. But this actually sounds like more of a legitimate resource for individuals.
Oh, 100%. This is the best of the best of what we reviewed. And that's been a thing for years. I don't want to comment on other publications, even in other areas that much. But yes, a lot of the best of lists, and it's just a bunch of crap, let's face it, that they filled in and said, hey, did we write about this or not or whatever? No, these are the best of what we reviewed. And we felt that they should get an award and actually get a trophy too. And Edgar makes SoundStage Australia a trophy. So they're fitting to be awarded something special.
And this comes back to the whole thing about awarding products based on price categories, which is obviously just trying to do what Jorden alluded to, is trying to please just about everything.
Well, and here's also something, and I've encouraged Dennis Berger to write an editorial on this because, hey, there's a magazine out there that does price category awards, and I'll say one word for it: stupid. Here's why. There is no correlation in hi-fi between price and performance. So you go and I see that they have, best loudspeaker, $20,000 to $50,000. Great. You gave that $30,000 loudspeaker an award that might not be as good as a $10,000 one. Okay, that's the problem with price categories in hi-fi. And there are a group of audiophiles out there who think price correlates with performance. And this is nothing new. It's been true for decades. It does not correlate. Yes, some of the best components are very expensive, but you can't count on price indicating that it's going to be a superior performer. So when you divide it up by price categories, you've actually got a worthless set of awards.
Interesting.
Sure. And I guess with some of the super expensive products, you're expecting sound quality, you're expecting performance, but you're also paying for other things like build quality, component quality, cachet in terms of resale value, and in terms of pleasing the audiophile ego. There's all those sorts of elements.
Oh, and that's 100%.
Well.
But the misconception is, and I don't know if the Status and Culture book really talks about, but the misconception is that performance automatically comes with it. And, back when they were doing big sales in Russia, remember at Munich about 12 years ago when people were making gold-plated loudspeakers just because they're putting gold foil. So, and
it must sound amazing.
Yeah, it must sound amazing with that gold foil on the outside, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Luckily, we don't see that junk anymore. But it is something that if you have price categories, it makes no sense. So exceptional value means performs exceptionally well for the money. Probably going to be lower cost, but not necessarily. The one that almost snuck into exceptional value was the Rotel Michi X5 Series 2. It's $8,000, but actually the NAD beat it out. Higher value product, but it could have been exceptional value even at $8,000.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's value for the specific price, not value relative to somebody's notion of what value means.
Yes, it's high value.
That's a moving target, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And with that, I think we should take a quick musical interlude. And once we're back, we'll get right back into it. See you guys in a minute. Before the break, we were talking about the Product of the Year awards. We were talking a little bit about the different categories. Now, there's a couple categories that I still want to cover just because I find them really interesting. One in particular, let's actually start with the people. So there is a category in the SoundStage side of the awards where it's Outstanding Achievement Awards for the individuals, for the people. Doug, can you tell us a little bit about why there's this category and kind of what the point is? And it's not specific to a product. It's an individual.
It's to people. Yeah. So it started in 2022. And, we've been doing products of the year for over 2 decades. And we've grown to be the largest group of publications in the world. And as you know, because you're there with us a lot, we travel around the world, and we meet people around the world. We have a global influence. And this was decided in 2022 because we have a lot of experience going globally. We know the people. We know who's done what in the industry to recognize people in the industry. And it was how many in a year, and 3 sounded good. And this isn't just somebody who designed a speaker or something. This is somebody who's had an enormous influence in the hi-fi industry that is recognized globally. And last year, we recognized Dr. Floyd Toole. Did probably the most extensive research of any researcher in the world when he was at Canada's National Research Council in the acoustics department doing research, and that spun off the Canadian loudspeaker industry and influenced designs for decades that followed. Another person, Paul Barton, that was last year. Founder of PSB Speakers, celebrated his 50th anniversary as a company. And likewise, Siegfried Amp, the founder of T+A, who founded that company in Germany, the largest high-end hi-fi manufacturer in Germany, started as a speaker designer, became an electronics company in 1978. An enormous influence globally in terms of the products they produce, why they produce them, how they produce them. And then this year we had to come up with 3 people of equal caliber to recognize outstanding achievements. And one of them is Peter Lingdorf, the Danish entrepreneur who started with he started actually as a hi-fi distributor in the 70s. He established the Hi-Fi Club and retail outlets, which are over 100 stores now in 5 European countries. He founded DALI, Danish Audiophile Loudspeaker Industries. He founded Lingdorf Audio. He founded TAC Millennium. He was the owner of NAD for a while. He was the owner of Griffin Audio Designs. He was the owner of Snell. He helped co-found Purify, an enormous figure in the worldwide hi-fi scene. Another person this year, Ian Calhoun, formed Axiom Audio in 1980. We believe he was the second person after Paul Barton to work with Dr. Floyd Toole. He went down to NRC, got all his company going because of that research, was recognized that, established a great brand, but then also a couple years ago bought Bryston. And now is in charge of Bryston, has the manufacturing all up where Axiom Audio speakers are produced, and also more recently bought Magnum Dynalab. Actually, many people know them from their tuners, but they started in integrated amplifiers, I believe. But 3 great hi-fi brands all under one roof. And finally, this is kind of an unknown hero, Dr. Peter Shook. He started at NRC in the 1980s. He's got his PhD in math, master's in math, bachelor's in math, but he's a mathematician and a digital signal processing expert. And he was one of the pioneers of room correction systems. He was working on that in the 80s and 90s, and the 90s, something called the Athena Project, which eventually, in a way, got absorbed into Paradigm Anthem. That's a whole story, but he went to work for Paradigm and the Anthem brand, and his work became the Anthem room correction software system. Now, there's a whole team involved now, but he's really one of the pioneers of room correction, digital signal processing, and high-performance loudspeakers. He's also designed loudspeaker measurement software. So those are our 3 winners this year.
And it's quite different than the products, obviously, because they're individuals. Is there a limited pool from you to choose from in this sense, or do you have people in mind for the years to come?
I haven't thought about, and Gordon hasn't thought about, neither has the team, who we would recognize next year. But we want them to be alive today so they can get the award. There are probably many, many people of the past. And we want them to have truly achieved something special, something significant, not just, hey, this guy deserves an award because he designed a great loudspeaker. No, you had to have an influence over the industry. And when you look at last year's winners and this year's winners, they are people who have had really a strong influence in the industry to bring something more to it. And so we haven't even started thinking about next year, but honestly, we probably should.
Now, was there any other categories, either for the Australian side of things or for the network side of things, that you really wanted to just talk about or kind of go over the philosophy behind the particular award? I'm curious if there's any standouts.
Yeah, we used to call these individual awards, but we call them now distinction awards as of this year. These are products that don't fit necessarily in outstanding performance or exceptional value, but stand out as great products. And there were 3 winners this year. One came under Hall of Fame, which was Edgar's award, the Mission 770 loudspeaker, which has a lineage that dates back to the late 1970s. The new version is what we gave the award to, designed by Peter Como. Fabulous loudspeaker. The Aesthetics and Sound Award, a product that combines great appearance with great sound. That was an easy winner this year, the Estelon Aura loudspeaker. They really hit it out of the park with this design. A beautiful looking and sounding loudspeaker. And then we have what's called innovation in design. Special technology that makes the product truly unique. And that went to the T+A Solitaire S530 loudspeaker that Hans Wetzel reviewed. It combines line source and line array technology with omnidirectional radiating bass, a magnetostatic tweeter, an array of 6, I believe, mid-range drivers, a really funky loudspeaker that has a really unique and compelling sound. And it was recognized because you don't see something like that every day, and also because of the sound it achieved.
I guess from my side of things, and I'm not sure whether you do this, Doug, but innovation in design, which are products that offer something that's quite unique or unusual for that category. And
that's exactly, that was for the T+A. We also have something called pioneering design, which is something brand new that no one's ever seen before, but there wasn't anything like that this year. That would be, for example, like Class D technology when it got invented. But
sure.
The innovation in design is a novel technical approach to something.
Sure. And something that I know you don't do is extraordinary auxiliaries. And this is a category that we think is still quite important, where we award products that are ancillary to the main components. I know cables can be contentious, but I think obviously super important. And this year we gave that to an Italian company called Vita Labs, which produced some interesting cable designs. And without going into the whole debate of how much of a difference they make, they actually sound fantastic. And I know several high-end manufacturers that use the products for demonstration purposes and within their own development programs.
Yeah, for us, those accessories aren't segregated into a separate section. We would put them under exceptional value or outstanding performance. And it just so happened there were no products that actually qualified.
Sure.
We have in the past recognized accessory type products, power conditioners, that sort of thing too, but there wasn't anything that stood out this year from the reviews. And it was more a product, more a byproduct of they weren't really reviewed that much. We had a lot of loudspeakers, amplifiers, all that.
Sure. We had another interesting product which is actually locally made. And again, this is a company that's trying to do everything in Australia, which is a very difficult thing to do these days. So the company is Aspire Audio, and they produce the Belgravia audio equipment racks, beautifully done with local timbers, and also local machining for all the steel parts and so on, and some clever design aspects to it to isolate the products from on each shelf. And they actually provided some measurements. So and I think they publish those on the website where they compare products on a standard rack, or on just your Costco rack. And this product and the differences in vibrational distortions and so on, which is interesting.
That's fascinating, because I was going to ask about how a rack one gets reviewed in a hi-fi publication, because aside from aesthetics, I didn't kind of consider anything else relative to that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, sure. And that's, I think a rack has to support the products it's you're placing on them. It has to look good and then provide some kind of coupling or isolation.
I can tell you a place where a rack has a really significant impact. Turntables. What you place your turntable on is super, super, super important. And a rack can have an enormous impact on the performance of that turntable.
And also with valve equipment, they're susceptible to microphonics and so on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, another kind of point here, and I think we already talked about it a little bit, but it's good to reiterate that all of these products, including this rack, have to have a review in order for them to even qualify for the Product of the Year awards in both the Australia or the SoundStage network.
Yes, 100%. I mean,
correct.
We're going to see a day when AI is more and more, and maybe this is happening already, where people are just going to put product names there. But where all of the awards are listed, both on the Hi-Fi site and on Australia, you have links to the reviews as well, so you can read the full review. I also want to mention, can I mention it now, our Outstanding Performance Awards quickly?
You can mention it now. Yeah.
Because I want to say, these are the ones that are top performance, no holds bar, price doesn't matter. But hey, we put the price there right away. Vivid Audio Gia G3 Series 2 floor standing loudspeaker. Hans Wetzel reviewed that as well. Lawrence Dickey, this is just a killer speaker. And Vivid often gets criticized because of the looks, but it's where form is following function, and they sound fantastic. The T80 Compact Evolution 1 TX stand mount speaker. Also reviewed by Hans. A 3-way coaxial design, super innovative, really, really a great loudspeaker. Comes from Japan. Hagel Music Systems H30A amplifier. Jason Thorpe loved this amp, and that's why that got there. The Sim Audio Moon 791 streaming preamplifier. I've written a lot about this in December. It's a killer next generation preamp. I mentioned the Rotel Michi X5 Series 2 integrated amplifier. It could have been exceptional value, but it's so good it got outstanding performance. And then the Luxman PD 151 Mark II turntable. Garrett Hongo reviewed it. SoundStage Ultra, loved it. Superior sound, looks that bring a sparkle to your eyes, and sheer ease and assured repeatability of operation. I can't think of a better analog rig than the Luxman table and tone arm, is what he wrote. I just read it. And you wanted headphones? You tried these. The Focal Utopias, the 2022 version. Brent Butterworth.
Those are really nice headphones.
Oh, yeah. And I have to, there was a runner-up here, and unfortunately it got overlooked, and we went back and forth and back and forth. The Yamaha YH5000 SE headphones. So Brent reviewed these. Jeff Morrison reviewed the Yamahas. It really came down to, Brent just said that little bit more that the Focals got the award, but the Yamahas could have got it too.
Interesting. As far as Australia, outstanding performance, obviously that's self-explanatory, but products that stood out, Bowers & Wilkins 702 S3, which has always been an improvement from generation to generation, sometimes minor technical tweaks that have resulted in improved performance. Electrocompanion AW800M, which is amplifier that can be run both as stereo or a monoblock, adding another one, Bridget, obviously, and reviewed by Tom Waters, who uses 801D4 loudspeakers, and there's always been some kind of synergy between Electrocompanion and Bowers & Wilkins. So that was he absolutely loved those. Revival Audio Atalante 5 loudspeakers, which a relatively new company, French company, and from I believe ex Dynaudio designers. Unusual speaker that sound very retro kind of looking, and Steve Poley, who reviewed that, thought they were incredible, very, very refined sound, very mature product for a company that's only a few years old. Solnote S3 reference SACD player and clock, ex-Marantz designers who produce something much more high-end, much more upmarket than usual Marantz. And terrific sounding product, beautifully made. And then Stenheim Illuminate 2 SE loudspeakers, reviewed by Barry Johnston, who absolutely loved them, thought they were incredible speakers. So, that's outstanding performance.
And most of these weren't reviewed on our sites, though we did review the Stenheim, I believe last year. Diego Estan loved that speaker too. He found it to lack bass, but it was one of the best stand mounts he's ever heard. And when he fleshed it out with the subwoofer, he was quite blown away. And that's kind of the advantage. The other ones, we'd love to get some sold out Electric Company yet, that sort of thing in, but that's the advantage of having Australia too, because it increases our breadth of coverage.
Yeah, and it does seem like you get much more focus in the Australian market. Now, Edgar, you also mentioned that Australia itself has quite a lot of hi-fi companies that, like North America, may just never hear about.
Sure. I mean, Australia has had some very high-profile companies. I can think of, off the top of my head, Dantec Audio and Halcro, and there probably are others. But there's also a wealth of smaller kind of niche boutique manufacturers that are producing really high-quality products. And I tried to cover those companies both by way of reviews and news items. We have an extensive news page within the website, and we publish several news pieces every week. So give those companies some, like, a global exposure via SoundStage Australia, and obviously the connections between SoundStage Australia and the SoundStage network as a whole. The one of the issues with small Australian manufacturers, and it's probably a global problem, but it seems to be less of a problem for, say, American companies or German companies or even Canadian companies, is that they dedicate entire budgets to producing product and not to marketing. So,
yeah.
so there's no point producing the best amplifier, the best loudspeaker in the world if no one knows about it. So this is what I'm trying to kind of provide a platform for these sorts of companies.
And to those companies, that's a whole podcast topic. Hey, just because you produce what you think is the best amp in the world, I'm not talking about just the Australian companies, they're all over the place, doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it. You better figure out how you're going to sell it. And marketing has become a dirty word to people. But, the truth of the matter is, think of it as informing people.
Sure.
100%. That kind of leads me to something else, which is unique in this Product of the Year award, in that this year, not only was there the written articles and the publications, but we also made a video to kind of announce the winners on the 15th of December. Doug,
yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about this video? Why was it special? What's the benefit? And are we going to do it again?
Was it special because you shot it, Jorden?
That extra little bit of look. Yeah.
So my feeling is that big problem that hi-fi has today is awareness among people. There's all this talk about getting young people into audio, teenagers and stuff. They're not going to buy this stuff. It's too expensive. Market it to people who have lots of money, who have no idea that this stuff exists. And the way to get this through is, I believe, a music industry popularity type of thing. This is all about music. So I met Dominique Fields-Ami, the Canadian singer. She's got 4 albums today. She's really good. I listened to all 4 albums.
Really good.
Traveling. She's really good. Buy her albums. And I reached out to her manager earlier this year and I said, I would like to have her read off our products of the year in a video. And they were very receptive to it. And in fact, that kind of snowballed into the videos we first produced in the summer about her new album, Our Roots Run Deep, which is an Atmos album, a stereo album, a fantastic album, and start of a new trilogy. And then a couple months ago, I went back to them and said, hey, just so this doesn't get forgotten, why I originally contacted was to do our products of the year, to have somebody who's knowledgeable about music, cares about sound, because she really does, and knows good sound. She works with a great producer and engineer, but she knows great sound and what she wants to achieve, and have her announce the winners. And it went over really well. And I think people in the industry were surprised that we got someone of that caliber and shot the video. What did you think, Edgar?
What a coup, because it's quite funny, because several months prior to this, in kind of mid 2023, at an Australian audio show, you go from one room to another, and you stay more than 2 or 3 tracks, and you hear Dominique's track.
Really? Probably the Birds one. I would get Birds. Yeah, I'll tell you, she's got a lot of other great tracks that would do just as good. But people seem to really latch on to Birds. Yeah,
that's right. So it seems to have become a bit of a kind of audio show favorite. Obviously, it's a great track. She's a great singer, but it sounds good. It really showcases, the potential quality that an audio system has or can have. So it's used everywhere. I was in the Tokyo show as well in November, and maybe not quite as much as high rotation as the Sydney show, but nevertheless I heard it there as well. So it's become a bit of an audiophile kind of staple-dyed track.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So when we were down in Denmark, they actually put it on one of the systems. I forget which one, but they had one of her tracks, and we're like, yeah, we filmed a video with her. So that's amazing. Next time we see them, we're going to let them know that both Sydney, Australia, and Japan also have her music on rotation in these audio shows.
I mean, how timely, that's a great coup, Doug.
Yeah, no, and who knows, maybe she'll do it next year. I want to do more projects with her. She's going to be working on a new album in about 9 months' time, but turned out to be the perfect choice. Very easy to work with, and she's got credibility. I mean, she's a great musician and singer, and she actually cares about sound. And so it was perfect, actually.
What I find about it is when you come to a product of the year, anything, it's usually written reviews, and you're going through the list, and it's your own voice reading it, your voice in your head kind of as you read the articles. Having somebody, one, that is in the industry, and two, that has, a different personality to kind of highlight them. For me, that's just more entertaining. I actually could sit through that video and watch it, and I get curious about the products that get brought up and mentioned, and then I go exploring and see what they're all about.
That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm really happy that came out. And you can be assured, just like we got to look for outstanding achievement winners, you can be assured that I'm already thinking about who can be the person who reads this next year.
Well, you just gave me an idea, because hi-fi is all about the music at the core of things. Would there be room for another category that talks about outstanding recording of the year?
Well, it could be, but I would want it to have real credibility, because as we all know, there's been articles written about all the crap people listen to at hi-fi shows, the same 2 recordings over and over again. But Birds is not crap, but audiophiles tend to have very poor taste in music. So I would want to make it credible. Put it that way.
What we need to do is to really, really promote the high end as an industry to people who don't know it even exists. Have a chat to Taylor Swift. See what you can do.
Oh, there we go.
I'll tell you this. I fully believe this. Say what you want about Neil Young, but did anybody talk about MP3s being crap before Neil Young went on his tirade over and over and over? He had a huge influence on that message, and the hi-fi industry, I think, would be wise, or companies within, not the industry, I don't see that as a whole type of thing, to latch on to their products to somebody, because these people have celebrity appeal. They have broad appeal, and you get your message out through these people. It's going to be beneficial. And also, I think that.
Sorry, no, I was going to say also within other industries, why not promote high-end audio to, and I think it's been done before, but also to the yachting industry, to the luxury motor vehicle industry,
to people who, and it doesn't have to be just the ultra-rich luxury buyer, but to people who have money to spend on audio who simply don't know this exists. Simple as that.
That's it.
I wonder if there could be a correlation shown between Taylor Swift releasing a new album and sales of record systems, because I know that she releases LPs, and high-end speakers. I wonder if like some of that audience is actually getting into hi-fi through her music.
Can you imagine what it would do if Taylor Swift had a video and they showed her queuing up a certain turntable and they showed the brand and model of that turntable? How many people would be rushing out to at least look up what that turntable is? That'd be huge.
Unreal. All right. So thank you both for coming on, talking about the product of the year.
Products of the year.
That's right. Products. And I should say, thank you both for coming on and talking about the products and people of the year.
Exactly.
Just to make sure that we're all encompassing. Edgar, you haven't been a guest on our podcast before. So one thing that we try and ask everyone that comes on, and I'm gonna change the phrasing of it just a little bit to make it maybe a little bit easier on you.
Right.
If me and you had to jump in a car and drive across Australia, let's say, what are the albums or what are the songs that you'd absolutely want me to listen to on that drive? What are you listening to?
Men at Work on repeat, right?
That's amazing.
Look, Australia is a very, very big country. We'd be spending lots of time listening to music. I love all sorts of music. I mean, Tool's one of my favorite sort of heavy type bands. I like what they talk about in their music. But musically, they're incredible. They're amazing musicians. So Tool, Jeff Buckley, that album, we can play that album over and over again, Grace. I've been on a bit of a stoner rock kind of vibe for the last few months where I've been playing lots of Sasquatch, a great American rock band. Also Color Haze and a great German stoner rock type lo-fi band.
No Natalie Imbruglia or Midnight Oil or anything?
No.
Not giving a shout out.
Some AC/DC, I think. Some Akadaka, as we call it here. Yeah.
How many people know that AC/DC is Australian? How many people know that?
I did not know that.
I have to ask you guys. I mean, we know they're Australian.
I know they're Australian, but
I had no idea. For some reason, I thought they were British. No,
definitely Australian.
Definitely Australian.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, shame on me.
And by the way, Back in Black is an exceptionally well-recorded album.
Actually, it is. And I think very, very early, when SoundStage Australia first started with you, Doug, I think you went through, and I'm not sure if you actually
we got that
this,
in six versions of Back in Black. I still got your CD there, the Australian version, and which one sounds best? Because some of them sound identical, but they're made from different masters, and they sound different.
So, hold on. I need to understand this. The 6 different versions of the same AC/DC CD album, and they had different sounds?
Oh, they're very different. Yeah. So what we did, I think we had 6 or 7 versions, and 3 of them were, I can't remember, but I gathered them up. They're different releases. There's a remastered release, an Australian release, this. So I gathered them up, I ripped them all, and I distributed them to our writers and said, which version do you like sound best? And some of the guys picked up that these sound very similar, but they had very different sounds, and they come from different masters, that sort of thing. But the Australian one was different than the other ones, and
I sent you an early,
not different.
An early version of the Australian one, and I actually have that on vinyl as well. It sounds great on vinyl. So
No way. Produced. Okay, well, I got to read this. That sounds awesome.
We'll put it in the show notes. That's a good point. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. Thank you, Edgar, for becoming a morning person for us. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out this year. And this time next year, we can do a recap on all the products of the year for 2024.
Thank you, Jorden.
Thanks, Jorden.
All the best.